Hi, today I want to talk about CPD. CPD stands for Continuous Professional Development, and it's become a very common phrase that we're hearing more and more. And certainly, more and more employers are looking for evidence that potential employees are keeping up their CPD. In other words, that potential employees are doing more than just what's required of them in their previous roles. They want to see that you're chasing opportunities for training, for improvement. This is what they're looking for. They want more than just, a load of qualifications you got at school or college, because quite frankly, 5 years later, they're not really very valid. Really, they show what you could achieve 5 years ago. They don't show what you can achieve in the workplace and the sort of person that you are. So, what is continuous professional development? Well, it's commonly defined as intentionally developing the knowledge, skills, and personal knowledge needed to perform professional responsibilities. So, in other words, it's a work-based education. It's about learning how to look after customers. It's about understanding health and safety and the ramifications of when health and safety goes wrong. It's about understanding the type of job that you're doing and recognizing when you need to know more. So it's about so much more than just learning through the traditional roles as well. So CPD can be attending an event where information is given out, where you learn something. Even networking events, you can learn something at networking events. I've been to many networking events and I've learned incredible amounts of things. I've learned about PR, I've learned about alternative therapies, I've learned about so many things. Now, what CPD then can be active. So active is where you go and you attend a training course or you participate in something. So maybe you go to a meeting, maybe you go to a conference, or maybe it's a webinar and you get the opportunity to give your opinion, to be active in that. So it's structured. Active CPD is when you go to something that's actually structured and is about learning. There's also reflective CPD or passive learning. So this could be reading something that's relevant. So for instance, if you work in the industry of, let's say, housing, maybe you saw something in a newspaper that's talked about new housing law coming in. Or maybe if you work in the finance industry, maybe you read something in the financial pages of a newspaper or maybe online that you learned something new from about the industry that you're in, something that's going to help you and take you forward. So it could be podcasts, case studies, industry updates. So, just things that are put on your company's website, those sorts of things on the intranet within your organization that give you more information. All of those things are CPD. And then there's self-directed CPD. So this covers things like reading documents, articles, publications. So going out and finding that information, books by leading experts, industry journals, that sort of thing. So there are lots and lots of ways of doing CPD, an awful lot of ways. But the thing is, of course, you can go to an employer and say, well, yes, I have good CPD. I've read lots of journals. I've attended conferences. I've done all sorts of things. What's the next question from that potential employer, it's going to be, where's your evidence? How do I know that that's what you've been doing? How do I know that? So you need to have some kind of evidence. So here's a slide that demonstrates how you can record this evidence. Okay, so as you could see from that, that evidence was from my own personal CPD log. This was from 2013, 4 years ago, to show you how I was working as a training manager. I wanted to improve on everything that I was doing all of the time. So I went to a Saltbox Trainers Exchange where trainers come together and talk about what's the latest thing they're doing, and support each other in moving into various areas and how they can get that information, how they can produce better training. So that was a great thing to go to, and I went there more than once. So what I learned there then was that what happens before and after a course may decide the success or usefulness of the course. Well, of course, what this taught me was the importance of greeting people and making people feel welcome, the ones that turn up 20 minutes early, as well as the ones who rush in at the last minute, and about what you do afterwards. Do I make myself available? I try to, and I always say at the end, you know what? If you have any questions that you don't want to ask in front of the rest of the group, just come and see me, and that's fine. And I try to make myself available during breaks as well. So think about that. What are you doing? How many times have you picked up a document and learnt something new from it? How many times have you surfed the net and seen something really beneficial to your industry? But how many times have you recorded it? How many courses have you been on that maybe gave a certificate, maybe didn't, they don't always, or, you know, how many meetings have you attended where you found out some new information that was really useful for you? Have you recorded it? Do you have the evidence? Because you know what? If you go to a job interview able to say, yeah, I've been managing my own CPD, I've been attending various courses, webinars, I've been doing some of this off my own back, not necessarily through the organisation, I've signed up to certain podcasts, I receive certain journals, and so on and so forth. And then when they say, well, that all sounds brilliant, where's the evidence? And you can say, well, actually, I've brought a couple of pages, the last couple of pages of my CPD with me. Obviously, it's too long to print it all out, but I am quite willing to email you over a copy if you would like it. Much more impressive than going, well, I haven't actually got any evidence, but I definitely did do it, and well, you know, I can tell you about it. Because a CPD evidence doesn't only show what you've been to, it shows what you actually learned. Because, I mean, if you've been in the industry, in your industry a long time, you will be attending some courses that you think, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this. But there's probably a little nugget in there that you go, oh, I didn't realise that had changed. Oh, I didn't know that was coming up. I didn't realise that. Or you might talk with one of the other delegates and they give you some broader information that you weren't aware of. Any of that. You see, that's what it does. It shows not only what you've done, because let's face it, you know, attending a course doesn't mean that you've learnt anything, you know, but that you've learnt something from it, and you've shown your intention to do something with that learning. CPD, really, really important in terms of personal development. Yeah. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with keeping a CPD for other things outside of work that you're learning, that you're engaging in, because it's good to be able to look back and see what you've done, where you've been. and what you've learned.